Hello, everyone. My name is Megan Graham, and I am here today to talk to you about how I used my Lifewave patches as I was, and actually as I continue to recover from mold exposure. And a lot of people don't really know what mold exposure feels like, but originally I lived in a flooded building. There was a huge flood in my residential building, and water went from the 14th floor to the second floor. That sensitized me to mold, and I had another huge mold exposure when I first moved to Arizona. And so if you have been exposed to mold, you know it's a really strange thing to have happen to your body. It feels like everything is shutting down at the same time. It affected my sleep, my digestion. I had chronic fatigue, and there were so many different symptoms. So I just wanted to come on here today and talk a little bit about how I used my Lifewave patches to help with my recovery and to support my body as I was and continue to work on getting better from my mold exposure. First of all, I just want to say this is not medical advice at all. I am just sharing my experience of what I did for myself. I cannot tell you what you should do for yourself, but I do share my experiences and the various things that I have done in hopes that it will make a big difference for you. I get a lot of questions. So if you don't know, my full-time business is that I am I do various things and I work with different companies, but Lifewave is the largest company that I work with, and their products made a significant difference. So I talk about them all the time. And so a lot of people that aren't working with me directly as clients like to know this information. So I just wanted to come on here and share my experience so that if you are not working with me as a brand partner, you're going to know a little bit more about how I use these patches in my recovery from mold, and the patches that I did use and the patches that I really didn't use in the beginning. If you're on here, I would love it if you said hello. Let me know if you have dealt with a mold exposure. Let me know what brought you to this, or if you just want to learn more about the Lifewave patches. Whether you had a mold exposure or perhaps you're experiencing toxicity or just fatigue, generally speaking, this still applies to you. It's not just for the people that are experiencing mold, but it is not as uncommon as you think to have this issue. And hello, Tina. Thank you so much for saying hi. And you're from North Carolina. Thank you for hopping on the chat. I always love to hear from all of you. And so I am going to be just giving you a little bit of an idea of how I use these patches recovering from mold. If you would like my help personally and you want to use the patches, and you want, my personal opinion and how I sort of would recommend using them. I do that. I set up consults for folks that are signed up with me. I get a lot of questions on my YouTube, and unfortunately, I can't just randomly give. When I don't know the situation, it's really hard to kind of get in there. People will say, what should I use? Well, I would need to talk to you. So know that if you need my personal advice, I would love to have you sign up with me. But if you don't and you just want to use my information, it is free on here, and you can 100% just tune in and learn from what I did and apply it for yourself. And hello, Deborah. Thank you so much for saying hi. By the way, I'm having a crazy situation at home because our cat had major surgery this week. So he is recovering in the other room. My assistant is watching him because he just keeps pulling off his darn comb. So I started using these patches because I had done all of the things. I was already seeing a functional doctor, regularly getting tests done to check my levels of various different minerals and inflammation and things like that. And so I was already doing a lot of things. If you don't know, I also have Lyme disease. There's just it's not usually just one thing, right? But I had a lot that I was dealing with. And even though I was doing all the things that my doctor recommended, I still felt extremely tired, and I felt like my wheels were spinning and I just wasn't getting better. And so obviously she was recommending great things. I have a fantastic doctor, but things just weren't really changing for me. And so a close friend of mine who also had gone through a similar experience and had quite a bit of fatigue had actually tested out these patches for 4 months, and she told me about them. And so I learned a lot from what she told me. She shared a fantastic video about the X39 that gave me a great explanation of what the patch does. And it just really changed, it changed my perspective on these patches because I believed what she said. She's been a friend for 20 years. And she said that although these were not her treatment or her cure for her chronic fatigue, they made a huge difference and they just gave her a push of energy. And they made her feel the most like she had, almost the most like herself she had felt since she became unwell. So the way that I started, when I started the patch, and this is back, let's think back. When I started these patches, it was a little bit over a year ago. At that time, I was so tired. I could not get out of bed. My memory was terrible. I wasn't sleeping. My skin was terrible. There were a lot of different issues. So the first thing I want to say is that I started out slowly with my patches. And X39 was the first patch that I started with. I started X39 as my first patch, and I'm just going to show you this patch. It's just a little, it's basically like a little sticker. There's a backing that comes off, and that is the X39. I started this patch myself very slowly. I wore this for, I think, about 6 hours when I started, and I very, very gradually increased. One thing that I see a lot of people do when they're trying to get better from mold or just get better from anything is they try to approach it so aggressively. And they want to get better really fast. So they're like, okay, I can wear this patch for up to 12 hours. I'm going to put it on for the full 12 hours and wear it for 12 hours, and I'll get better faster. For people that have become sick from mold exposure, a lot of times things have slowed down so much that if they were to wear this for 12 hours, they would probably not feel very well. Not because the patch is doing something bad. It's not a side effect. It's sort of like, think about this, if you hadn't been working out, if you hadn't been to the gym, and it's been 3 years, you're in terrible shape, would you walk into a gym and just try to work out for 3 hours straight or try to lift 300 pounds? No, you would go slowly. And so my thinking, and this is how I do all of my things as I recover, is I wanted to go slowly. So I wore this patch for 6 hours the first week, and I kept a little journal of how I was feeling. I gradually increased. I believe I increased to 8 hours the second week, 10 hours the third week, and 12 hours the fourth week. That said, when I got up to 12 hours, occasionally there were times where I felt like it was a little bit much for me. And maybe I had some detoxification symptoms. And by the way, if you ask me if you're having detoxification symptoms in the questions, I'm not going to answer because I can't give you medical advice. That is up for you and your physician to determine. However, I know when I am having symptoms of detoxification, and that is just when my body is working really well, but it kind of needs a break from working so well because I had quite a bit of black mold and mycotoxins from that black mold that had built up in my body. And so I didn't want to overdo it because your body can only do so much when you're healing. So what I would do is I would just take the patch off for a few days until I felt completely back to normal. And then I would put the patch back on, sometimes for a little bit less time, let's say 10 hours. By the way, if you are watching, please, please, please give me the thumbs up if you are enjoying this. If you don't know, this is my full-time job to do YouTube. It is something that even as I have been coming out of being fully disabled, I have still been able to do my videos. And it really makes a big difference when you guys support my videos by giving me the thumbs up, by saying hello, by commenting. This is the way that I pay my doctor's bills. This is the way that I get I'm still on LDN, I'm on oxytocin, it buys my medications and my patches. So please, please, thank you for that. Thank you for the thumbs up. I so appreciate it. It's free and it means a lot to me. So that's the first patch that I started with. I started slowly. So I can't tell you how fast you should start this patch, but what I will say is what I have noticed at this point, I have helped I have hundreds of clients that I help personally. They text me or they ask me questions. I invite them into my private Facebook that's only for my clients, and they can always ask all the questions they want there. And what I have found is that the less well, the more unwell that someone is feeling when they start the patches, usually the slower they need to start. Now, I did not reuse my patches. I took them off and I threw them away. When I take this patch off, it usually takes a little bit of dry skin, what have you. So I threw mine away. I have known many people that did use this for a total of 12 hours. And so if they were wearing it for 2 hours, sometimes they just had a little bit of tape and they taped it back on. Or maybe they wore it and they put it on a scarf and they just put that scarf on for a few hours a day, and then they put it in a closet in the dark and they put it back on again. So there's a lot of different ways that people can break up that time. And it's not necessarily that the company tells you to do that, but I have heard of many people who did reuse their patch. Never for me. I just never wanted to reuse my patches, although I did tape them on to my dogs or my cats just to give them a little bit more oomph for their health as well. Our cat that is recovering is right now wearing an X39 as well as a carnosine. I really want to support his cellular repair as he comes back from his surgery. So that is the main patch that I wore. And what I just want to say is more is not better. So when you're starting out, if you are recovering from mold, your body probably can only take so much. I personally would not have gone, and just like I wouldn't add 5 supplements at the same time, I myself would not have added 5 patches at the same time. After about 3 to 5 days, I added a second patch. This is the Eon patch, which actually I meant to put on today because I have been having a fair amount of stress as my cat is getting better. He almost died last week, and it was not only was it very harrowing, but it was super expensive and super scary, and we felt terrible. So this is the patch, Eon, that I wear to help, how do I say it? For me, it helps to control my stress levels, and that's really important for me. And so I like to wear this patch behind my right ear. It's not one of these spots in the manual, but I find that is a vagus nerve point, and so it makes a big difference for me when I wear it there. I was able to wear the Eon patch for 12 hours right away. The Eon patch is completely different than the X39 in what it does. And so I was able to wear that for the full 12 hours right away. For my clients that I help, this is the interesting little fact about the Eon patch. For people that are this is a patch that helps to support a balanced nervous system state. So if you are a person like me who lives in that fight or flight state and has to be brought back into a calmer, balanced nervous system state, you might find that when you put this patch on, it makes you tired. So let's say you start wearing this patch during the day and you feel more tired. Then I would probably try wearing it at night instead. Other people who might be in more of a freeze state, which is maybe more of a depressed state, they're not feeling good, they're down, they may want to try to wear this patch during the day because it might actually energize them. I can wear this patch day or night at this point. It really doesn't cause, it just makes me feel balanced either way. I feel great when I wear it. So these are my 2. I know money is super tight when people are recovering from mold. These are my 2 patches that I wore almost exclusively when I started recovering from mold. It's also worth noting that most of the time when I started, I wore these for 5 days a week. So I usually wore them Monday through Friday. I took the weekend off as my body was sort of getting used to it. Sorry that I have a hair on my lip gloss here. As my body was getting used to it, I didn't push it. I went slowly. What's the rush? I'm not going to pressure my body to get better faster, than it's willing to do. This is a fabulous combination. And I joined as a brand partner because joining as a brand partner, and by the way, there is a link in my bio. So if you want to join through me, you can join through that link if not working with another brand partner. And if you need my help and you're not working with a brand partner or wearing patches already, email me and I can help you personally to kind of know what everything is, what you might need, what might be good for you. But this is a great, great support. Simple. This is also a patch that helps to, how do I say it? I always have to say it carefully so I'm not making any claims, but basically it supports healthy levels of inflammation. And if you don't know this, many people, when they are, if they're having mold exposure symptoms, oftentimes there can be a cytokine storm involved. And so bringing that inflammation into balance can make a huge difference with feeling better. What I want to share now, and please drop in any questions, guys, if you are wearing, and it doesn't have to be about mold. So if you have another Lifewave question, feel free to drop your question in. But if it is about mold, please do drop your question in while I am chatting. It makes a big difference. And don't forget to hit the thumbs up as well. So I want to show you the patch that I didn't wear for the first few months. This is glutathione. Now, everybody that sees these patches, because many people that are recovering they know that glutathione is a good thing. So they always think, oh my gosh, I'm going to start out with that glutathione patch. I don't set my customers up with this patch to start. It is very, very powerful. And it is, for me, it is too much for someone that is just starting the patches, for someone that has experienced not feeling well. The X39 is already supporting glutathione production. Don't overdo it. Don't overcomplicate it. You don't have to buy a million patches. I know that for most of us that have gone through mold recovery, we are already buying so much stuff. And it's stressful. You know, when I started out, just thinking about affording my patches was so stressful because there were so many other things that I needed. I did wind up turning my, my passion for Lifewave into a business, which wasn't really ever my plan, but I started sharing it because it made a big difference for me. And then it turned into my business, which of course, in my case, paid for my patches. So I'm going to show you my other two favorite patches. These patches are probably something that I would start the second month. And I love these two patches. So the first patch that I absolutely love, and hello, Mary, this patch I love so much. This is the carnosine patch. This patch is an amazing patch. I actually just saw a great talk where a practitioner who is on my team was talking about carnosine and the fact that carnosine can be very, very useful in helping to support healthy levels of lactic acid. Now, lactic acid is really common for athletes, right? So if you're an athlete and you're running, sometimes you just can't do anymore because that lactic acid takes over. In the case of mold, which can cause chronic fatigue, sometimes people get into a state of lactic acidosis. So we're not actually doing the work that should make us super tired, but maybe even just going to the mailbox or walking the dog for 5 minutes could completely exhaust us. So this is one of my favorite patches for stamina and supporting my body as it recovers from mold. Not only that, but this is also the patch that I choose for brain support. And if you have experienced mold toxicity, you're probably going to know that people experience different things when they have mold toxicity. Sometimes it is anxiety, sleeplessness that might be due to inflammation, memory loss, brain fog. There's a lot of different things that happen when you get exposed to certain types of mold. And so this is one of my favorite ones. I wear this patch usually about 5 days a week, but I will say this patch is one that many people have used successfully, even if they only wear it for 3 days a week. So if you're going through mold and money is tight and you can't wear it every day, know that you can still get benefits by wearing this, a few days a week, not every single day. At the point where I am now, I actually don't wear my X39 every day. I often wear it every other day and I switch in the patches that I'm using simply because I have used it for so long that I feel that at this point I am maintaining more. So that is how I use mine at the point at which I am now, because I always plan on using that patch, and so I mix it up a little bit. So this patch is amazing. And the last patch that I actually use, and I have videos for all of these, so I may put the corresponding videos about these patches just for anybody that would like to learn about these patches. The Alavita patch is so interesting. It is marketed as the skin patch, but when I listened to a video of David Schmidt, who is the creator of the patches, talking about the patch, he actually shared that the Alavita patch was actually created to address oxidative stress, but they just didn't feel that addressing oxidative stress sounded interesting enough. It wasn't marketable enough. So they changed it because, of course, your skin isn't going to be as beautiful if you are experiencing oxidative stress. There's some very, very interesting things that they showed in this video. And they actually showed your body, as soon as you put this patch on, that it could be in a better state for healing to take place. So it's not that you put this patch on and healing just happens for your body. I think that is a lot of times that's the expectation. So I get a lot of emails every week, and sometimes I think that people's expectations are a little too high. It's not that we don't want, I think the patches are amazing. There has never been anything that I've ever used that has made such a big difference. That said, I think people sometimes, I had someone comment to me yesterday, they wrote and they said, I want to, I've done everything to get better from my chronic fatigue except see a doctor, and I want to do a ketogenic diet and the patches, and I hope that will make me well. I think that would be great if that would make you well. And if that were possible, that had been enough to make me well, that would have been the best thing in the world. But unfortunately, I'll be honest, most of the time, there's going to be a practitioner involved, and you're probably going to have to get some labs done so that you know what's going on with your body. I think I used to be in a state of just guessing and thinking that things would work out if I randomly took different supplements. But sometimes if we don't get those labs done with a doctor, and a special doctor. So my doctor is, she deals especially in environmentally acquired illness. I was a hair colorist, so I was exposed to chemicals. I had super high stress levels because I was running my business, and I had mold exposure, and I have Lyme disease. So I had a plethora of issues, and I wasn't really going to be able to untangle that myself. And I actually, when I didn't regularly see a functional doctor, I made some missteps. One of those missteps was thinking that I had the symptoms of low iron, supplementing with iron, and later finding out that I actually had extremely high iron, which needed to be brought under control. It wasn't from the supplementation, but I was someone who actually didn't need iron, and I was taking iron. So that is why it is really important. You can try to guess, but a lot of times if you don't get labs, it's very difficult to know what you need to work on. And so what I also wanted to show is a few things that I use that are not Lifewave, and also just want to remind you, my links are in my description of the video. And if you'd like to work with me as your consultant, my email is in the video as well. What I use to supplement as well. So this is from a company called KO Gardens. This is called LGI Medics. One of my biggest issues from dealing with mold is that it actually affected my digestive system. So this is intended to help to activate the stem cells in the large intestines. And I take this so that I can help my X39 to know what I am actually trying to improve in my body. So this to me is a signal, and it's telling my body what I need to work on. I'm not an affiliate for this company. It is not, I don't get anything for sharing this, but this is by KO Gardens, and they have some amazing stem cell activating tinctures, which I use in conjunction with my patches. When my dog recently had a pancreatic attack, I used the pancreatic tinctures along with the X39. So sending her body a signal of what it needed to work on. I also, because I get labs, I know that I am low in copper, and the X39, in order to help your body to support it in producing GHK-Cu, you need to have enough copper. So if you're deficient in copper, how can your body ever produce GHK-Cu? This is the brand. It's FIQ Recuperate IQ. That's the copper supplement that I take. I love this supplement, super high quality. Lifewave is going to have supplements, but they just haven't gotten them out on time. I feel like they keep saying that they're going to have the supplements, and I'm sure they're doing their best, and I know they won't have them out until the quality is just right. But unfortunately, their supplements are not out yet. So I am still taking a different brand of copper. When their supplements come out, I will take their supplements, because if your body doesn't have the proper minerals and the proper building blocks, it is very difficult for the patches to work. And last thing I just wanted to show, Probably anybody that is working to get better from mold knows this. And guys, please feel free to just drop in any questions because I'm not on these lives a lot. So if you want to get my expertise and you're not seeing me as your consultant, this is your chance to ask me questions when I am live and I'm speaking. So the last thing I just wanted to show you is I take something called biotoxin binder by Cellcore. That is the binder that I take. This is a pretty broad spectrum binder. It's very gentle. I take this to help sponge up the toxins and move them out of my body. Regular doctors will tell you that you can't do that, you can't detoxify, and nothing against regular doctors. I mean, my doctor is a Harvard-trained doctor. She has just taken a more integrative and functional route. Nothing against doctors, but unfortunately, they're not actually taught in medical school root cause of issues. It is more once your issues develop that they are treating the symptoms. And my doctor is actually getting to the root cause of issues and working to alleviate those issues from the root cause. And so to alleviate my particular issues, that means getting out years of toxins, which were acquired by being a hair colorist. So I hope that this was helpful for you. My point is I did not use all the patches. I started slowly. I integrated things in little by little. If you like this, I have to say I don't get a lot of comments on my mold videos, so I may not do a lot more because I really only do videos where people kind of like chat and ask me questions and things like that. But if you are going through this, you would like my help. I do love to help people. That said, it is my job. So please know that for personal consultations and things like that, the only folks that I work with are the people that are working with me, and they are my patch customers, because I do have so many customers at this point that the special thing that I offer for my support personally and just kind of hand holding and helping, which I love to do, it is for people that I work with directly. So anything on YouTube, I share my information. It is free. It is for anyone. I hope it helps you. And if you're going through this, I'm really sorry. I know it's not a fun thing to go through. On my YouTube, I definitely get comments sometimes when I do share about mold, and people will come on and they'll say that it's just my imagination and mold, can't make you sick and things like that. And I can definitely tell you it can. It really can. But I don't try to argue with those people, because at the end of the day, they are who they are. And if people can't be kind, I just move on. So I hope this was helpful for you. If you would like more information about the Lifewave patches, please go to the description of this video. There is a link. If you buy patches through that link, I will be your brand partner, which means I am your personal support. So thanks so much for watching. If you are healing from mold, I wish you the best, and have a beautiful day. Thank you.